Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. There's a good chance you saw this forecast and thought, man, I should probably go get some milk and bread. And then you got home and you saw this forecast from Billy's weather page on Facebook or whatever, and you thought, you know what? Actually, I should go get all of the milk and bread. And now here we are hours before the event, and you've got all this milk and bread, and you're wondering, did I make smart choices? Am I being duped? I personally don't like milk sandwiches, so did I make the right decision? And in this video, we're gonna figure out as we continue to talk about the weather. All right, once again, taking a look at the United States of America and looking at all of the watches and warnings out there from the National Weather Service. Over here on the East Coast, we've got winter weather advisories from Connecticut all the way down through the Delmarva area into Virginia and way down here into South Carolina. Now, as you're watching this video, a lot of these advisories up here were issued for the snow that you're either seeing right now or you just saw. And then everything south of that has been issued with the potential extra portion of this storm that we are going to see tomorrow. So we have a winter storm watch down here in Charleston, South Carolina. We have an ice storm warning from Myrtle Beach all the way up through Wilmington and Jacksonville, North Carolina. A winter storm warning for Goldsboro all the way up to Rocky Mount. And once again, all of this is going to be mostly for the snow and potential ice and stuff that we're going to see tomorrow, okay? But look at this. Our friends down here in extreme southern Texas are even under winter storm warnings. Look at this. Corpus Christi, Rio Grande City, McAllen, all of these places are under winter storm warnings way down here where it's supposed to be like 80 degrees this time of year. And then even San Antonio and Austin, Texas are under winter weather advisories. So let's talk about this first on the weather models. All right, starting off down here, zoomed in on southern Texas with the NAM 3-kilometer model. This is what the radar is going to look like as we go into the future. And if you want to keep up with the date and time, it's going to be displayed above my head there in Eastern time, remember, because that's where I'm from. Now, around 1 p.m. today, we're going to see some showers break out here in southeastern Texas from Houston all the way down to Corpus Christi. And we're going to start to see those rain showers convert over into sleet and freezing rain here around San Antonio and Austin, Texas, around 7 p.m. tonight, okay? Now, these are sprinkles, okay? A lot of this is going to be light rain and light sleet and light freezing rain. But in this part of the world, just a glaze of ice is going to cause some problems, okay? And then as we go later on into the evening and into the early morning hours on Friday, this is when the precipitation becomes a little bit heavier, all right? At 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're going to see some heavy freezing rain down here in extreme southern Texas, and then possibly some regular rain that intermittently switches back and forth between sleet and freezing rain around the Houston area. And then if we go later on into the morning around 8 a.m., we're still seeing that freezing rain right here near Alice, Texas, especially. I think that's going to be one of the places that's hit hardest by the ice. And then looky here, we've got snow in Mexico from Anahuac all the way over to Monclova. We're going to be talking about some snow flurries and some intermittent heavier snow showers that may lead to a brief trace of snow down here in Mexico. And once again, this is rare. It's not like it never happens, but it is rare, okay? So that's why we're seeing like widespread winter storm warning coverage down here. This is going to be a pretty impactful storm down here in Texas, but it's going to be out of your hair by 2 p.m. on Friday. Something to keep in mind here is a lot of these places that are going to be seeing the ice from Corpus Christi all the way over to Rio Bravo, you guys are going to be right around that 32-degree mark around 5 a.m. when the heaviest precipitation is falling. And then after you get your ice accumulations very quickly, once again by noon to 2 o'clock tomorrow, the temperatures are going to quickly go up above freezing. We're talking about, by 4 p.m., for example, it's going to be 40 degrees for a lot of these areas. So any ice that you do get's not going to be sticking around for long, and it's going to melt. So although the quarter inch of ice that's going to fall down here in southern Texas is going to be impactful, it could cause some problems. It'll be short-lived, and I don't think this is going to be any sort of a shutdown storm at all. All right, heading over here to the East Coast where we're talking about that imminent ice and snowstorm that we've been tracking for a little while now, and this is also going to be associated with those ice storm and winter storm warnings that we just looked at. Here's what the radar could look like as we get into around 1 or 2 p.m. today. I mentioned this yesterday. This quick burst of snow is still going to be moving through Long Island. It'll be exiting Washington, D.C. around this time, and also the Cape Cod region. This put down a quick skiff of snow, and it caused a little bit of problems out there on the roads, especially over here in West Virginia, where we saw probably the most significant problems on the roads. But just like I mentioned yesterday, the real problem isn't the snowfall. It's going to be the refreezing that happens happens because we're dropping in our temperatures down into the mid-20s and then even lower than that tonight. So any snow that melted, any rain that fell before the snow is likely going to freeze and cause some of those slick spots. Okay, let's go further into the future. We're going to continue to see snow down here in southern Virginia, all the way down into the southern Delmarva area around 7 p.m. this evening, and this is going to lead to more than likely the majority of your snowfall totals there in Virginia. But when that inevitably moves out, our focus is going to shift down here into the Carolinas for our ice storm. 5 a.m. tomorrow morning, we're going to see surface temperatures below freezing, but temperatures above your head, a couple thousand feet above freezing. Therefore, it's going to rain, but freeze on impact from a lot of places, including Myrtle Beach, up to Whiteville, Burgall, Jacksonville, New Bern, Beaufort. All these places in the Carolinas here are definitely going to see some icing during this time. And it really just depends on how long these bands of precipitation persist as to how much ice you get. A lot of yins are going to get a glaze of ice. I talked yesterday about how some of the models were showing a half an inch of ice. Some of them were showing an inch of ice, but the more likely scenario was going to be that quarter of an inch to half an inch scenario. And I think that's still, where we are right now. So also you can see that the NAM model here has really cut off the snow on the backside. So, a lot of you guys who bought your milk and bread here in central North Carolina, all the way up into this portion of the Northeast coast, I hope that you like milk sandwiches. And I also hope that I'm wrong here with my analysis in thinking that I think that this snowstorm has moved off to the south and east. Okay, here's a look at the latest ice totals, potentially from the NAM 3 kilometer there. Once again, a glaze of ice all the way up to maybe a quarter of an inch in some very isolated areas that could see up to a half an inch, especially in extreme southeastern North Carolina. Once again, somewhere between Wilmington and Jacksonville there's probably going to be the hot spot for ice. A couple power outages and then some hazardous travel there in the morning could be probably the biggest impacts from this. However, somehow the Euro model is still the most bullish here, and it's the only one that's really kind of going AWOL with our ice totals. So, this is kind of like a boom or bust situation. I think that the NAM is a little bit more realistic here, but there's still a potential, a very small potential for this thing to kind of drop a lot more ice than what the rest of the models are showing and go with the Euro here, which is putting down over a half an inch between Conway, South Carolina, Jacksonville, and New Bern, all these places in the darker pink here. And that would lead to more significant impacts, more power outages, more down tree limbs and stuff like that. But once again, this is in the upper echelon of what could happen. Okay, let's look at these snow totals down here. This is more than likely what we're going to see as far as snow goes. Let's compare this to that other forecast we were looking at from that very reputable TV weather company. And as you can see, a lot of people over here are just going to be eating a lot of milk and bread sandwiches for the next week or two, as we are mostly expecting just a couple of inches of snow from Raleigh all the way up into extreme southeastern portions of Delaware. Somebody over here might see 4 or 5 inches of snow, but it's going to be a really localized small area. Once again, the Euro model, which is by far the most bullish here, does a pretty good job of highlighting where that hot spot could be. Once again, somewhere around Kitty Hawk up through Virginia Beach and Norfolk. Somebody up there is going to get a couple more inches of snow, but still, I don't see 20 inches of snow or 18 or anything like that. Oh, wait, Ryan, what happened to the big snowstorm? Okay, I seen the forecast. I seen it, son. What happened to it? Did my weatherman hype this up? Does he have stock in milk and bread? Is he duping me? The short answer to that question is, I don't know. Maybe. I don't think so, but I don't know. And then the long answer goes a little something like this, okay? This is my case for your local weatherman. I know a lot of them get a hard time here, and I'm going to stand up for them for just a second. Winter weather is hard to predict. In fact, it's still mostly impossible until we get really close to the event. Computer forecast models, like the ones that I show here on this show, are the basis for every single forecast. So whether that comes from your app, your favorite local weather guy, the Weather Channel, I don't care, okay? It all comes from the same stuff that I'm showing you here. There is no magic weather wizard out there who knows anything different. Now, meteorologists are trained to use those forecast models as tools, and they're able to spot problems and biases with the models and then use their experience and expertise in their local area to kind of tweak tweak and make their own forecasts based off of everything that they know. But even they get it wrong sometimes. I get it. I know. I understand that the science is not perfect. Even with all of the training in the world, when you've got bad info being input into the models, but they still create realistic, situations and outputs, how can you expect anyone to accurately analyze that? And that's why they get it wrong sometimes. And that isn't as big of a problem as what a lot of people seem to think that it is. I hear all the time that weather forecasting used to be better in the 90s, and they used to get it right all the time, and now they always get it wrong. And that's just not true. It's the least true thing I've ever heard. Weather forecasting and weather models and everything involving weather technology today has vastly improved and is much better than it was in the 90s. That is not the problem here, okay? The real problem comes when untrained people or people who have an incentive to mislead get access to a large audience and then start cherry picking model runs to show, significant storms to lead to more clicks, more views, more ad revenue, all that good stuff. Now, these bad actors are all over the place. Of course, they're here on YouTube, they're on your Facebook feed, they're on Twitter, but even some of these people who have an incentive to mislead are on trusted sources on your TV. And in today's world, you are constantly bombarded with a plethora of details from every single corner of the internet. And because of just basic human nature, it is our tendency to kind of highlight the scariest or most extravagant details in our minds. So when it comes down to it, your responsible local weather guy, which hopefully you have one of those, you more than likely do, but he's been trying to communicate uncertainty and limit the hysteria. But you have been hearing about the worst case scenario for up to several days, maybe even a couple weeks before he even comes close to finalizing his rational forecast. So whenever we finally get to the event and then the Snowmageddon actually doesn't happen, a lot of people just look at the whole weather industry, all of those entities that I just talked about, as one thing. And they're like, you know what? These guys don't know what they're talking about. Weather people can be wrong half the time. And why should I listen to these guys? It's pointless, which is, once again, it's just not true. So I don't know your local weather guy, okay? He very well might be one of these bad actors who are purposefully misleading you, or maybe he just doesn't know what he's talking about. But I think that the vast majority of weather people are good, especially the ones at the National Weather Service. Now, I don't know the solution to this problem, but my recommendation for you is going to be that you should pick one or two media sources that you listen to, okay? Whether that's your app on your phone, your local weather station like the TV guy, or me, or even, if you like them enough, Joe's web page or weather page or whatever, I don't care. Pick two. Pick one or two, and then always back that up with your local National Weather Service office, okay? Always compare and contrast, and then make your decisions based off of those 2 or 3 sources. Everything else, tune it out. Block it. Okay, get it out of here. It don't matter anymore, okay? If you just go off of those things, you will always be more accurately informed on the weather. Unless, of course, you are a weather geek like me. If you are a true weather dweeb, then you love the drama. You love the uncertainty. You actually enjoy the hype, and you watch the weather models come out like it's a football game and you're rooting for the snowstorm. If you're one of those people, ignore everything I just said. That's fine. Keep having fun, baby. It's what I do. And if you're new to that game, get ready, because it is an emotional roller coaster. But yeah, that was an extremely long rant. I don't know if I'm going to keep that in the video or not, but I hope you enjoyed it, and that'll probably be the last time I ever speak on this subject. Let's start talking about the weather again, okay? All right, last but not least, let's very quickly here go through the future a little bit and look at the pattern down the road and any upcoming concerns or problems that we're going to have with storms. Let's move this forward a little bit, and once again, the Euro is still showing an increased chance of that snow and ice down here in the southeast, but everything else that's showing back here, I'm agreeing with, okay? We're going to have a big blast of cold air come down through the Great Lakes region ahead of this clipper, which is going to put down a couple inches of snow from Minnesota into portions of Canada around the Great Lakes there. We're going to have some snow down here around Denver on Friday, and it's going to be warmer than average over here on the West Coast. As we push this forward, you can see that Florida is going to remain rainy all the way through Saturday, and this warmer air is trying to advect a little bit further north. Okay, so places all the way up here in the BC and Alberta, you guys are going to be warming up a little bit, and there just continues to be more energy that comes down from the north and from the west. Like I said, we had 9 opportunities for storms. 2 of them are out of the way. That leaves us with 7, at least through the early February. One of them's either going to turn into an actual thing that we've got to track or not. But the fact of the matter is those opportunities are still there. Now, as you can see, we're going to have a little clipper come through here and possibly bring some snow to the snow hole in Illinois and Indiana on Sunday, January 23rd. We'll keep an eye on that. But the next real significant chance of weather that I think we have that we're going to be tracking doesn't come until 5 days from now on Tuesday. These two pieces of energy have really been on my radar for a while. If they get into a situation where they're closer together or where they try to interact with each other in a meaningful way, this will likely be our next storm that we have to watch for a potential major storm over here in the East Coast. Over here in the West, by the way, you guys are you're quiet. I know a lot of people are going to complain that I'm not talking about you a lot, but I don't know what to say. It's quiet. Over here on the East Coast is where it's most likely to not be quiet, as right now it shows another big cold front coming through on Tuesday, which could spark another big storm, which, obviously I'm not going to sit here and say that that's definitely going to happen. I'm not telling you to mark this date down, but that's the next date that I'm watching. And of course, another big blast of cold air comes in with that. This is the situation where I was talking about on Thursday morning. A lot of Florida is going to be below freezing. Now, obviously down here in Miami, you guys are not below freezing, but you're much colder than what you have been. This is very cold air through a lot of the eastern U.S. here with that second cold blast. And buddy, all we need to do is get a storm to interact with that, and I'm telling you, we're going to have a superstorm on our hands. Let's switch over to the GFS model and look at those blue blobs and our red blobs. Once again, lots of opportunities for storms in the near future, but once we get into early February, there might be one last big shot at a storm to come through. But I do think that we're going to start to see a little bit of a pattern flip here, specifically after February 3rd, February 5th, after that time frame. Now, I'm not 100% sold on this, but what we're kind of seeing is a pattern flip to where we have our troughs, trying to stick to the west coast, and then our ridges over here in the east, which is, once again, the red blobs usually are associated with favorable weather, and then the blue ones are, storms and cold and all that stuff. So we'll have to watch and see if this is just another progression to where this will eventually make it to the east. But we've lost a lot of our blocking up here by February 5th. But remember, this will change a lot, and also we have multiple opportunities before this happens. So don't get sad if you are a snow lover. Big time shout out to our members over here. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. We've got a couple of our storm chasers currently on their way to the ice storm area there in the Carolinas. So there's a chance I might stream tomorrow morning. I'm not saying with 100% certainty that I am going to do that, but there's a chance, all right? So slap that subscribe button, turn notifications on so you don't miss it. And then, of course, even if I don't stream, I'm going to have live updates flying at you on Twitter, so go follow me over there. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.